Disclaimer. Some of the topics discussed in this episode could include murder, child abuse, drug abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault, and other disturbing content. Please do not listen if you are sensitive to any of these topics. Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Resurrection of Ron Logan live stream replay. We're just going to pick right up right where we left off in part 1, and I will talk to you when it's done.
Anyway, so do you want me to play a little bit of Nancy here? I'll put it on a little bit faster speed though.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get past, well, we'll make it bigger. Put it on 1.25 or 1.5 or 1.25?
1.5.
1.2, 1.5? Okay. All right. We'll go 1.5. Let's see what she looks like at that.
Be justice for Abby and Libby, the two beautiful little girls that were slaughtered in Delphi.
Her episode was actually quite low.
Behind bars awaiting trial.
Did you notice that?
In the last days, wild rumors have surfaced that one of the girls was decapitated or near decapitated. Another rumor that the wrong guy's behind bars and the real killer is walking free. Yeah, they said that about O.J. Simpson too, didn't they? And Scott Peterson.
I gotta see if I can turn this
and
up.
Robert Blake. Gosh, I could go on and on about the real killers that are walking free. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories and on Sirius XM 111. Let's talk about the truth. As the trial approaches, what is the truth?
I'm literally at
about
100.
the murders of these two beautiful little girls. Joining me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But first, I'm going to go to Barbara McDonald joining us, Court TV documentary producer and co-host of Down the Hill podcast. Barbara McDonald, thank you for being with us. Along with her, Susan Hendricks, journalist and author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, my former colleague at HLN. Barbara, Susan, thank you for being with us. First of all, Barbara, in all of your research and everything you have discovered in your Down the Hill podcast, have you ever heard anything about one of these two little girls, Libby or Abby, being decapitated?
No, not to that extent. I've heard near decapitation, but that was very early on in the investigation. And I think it largely came from those text messages that are attributed to Abby's step-uncle or half-uncle, David Erskine, who claims in those text messages, if they're legitimate, that he was one of the volunteers to have found the bodies. And he recounted some of the things that he claimed existed at the crime scene. And with regard to the girls, I know that there's a lot of information contained in those messages that is not accurate. And
what information would Erskine have written or texted that would suggest one of the girls was decapitated or near decapitated?
Well, we do know from the defense filings that the girls had fatal injuries to their necks that were caused by some sort of an edged weapon. And it's possible that a volunteer who came upon that scene might have thought it looked perhaps different than it actually was. But my understanding is that both girls were completely intact.
New rumors are swirling to Cheryl McCollum, my longtime friend and colleague, forensic expert, founder, director of the Cold Case Research Institute, and star of Zone 7 hit podcast. Cheryl McCollum, I don't understand how it benefits anyone to keep on gossip about these two little girls. Gossip like the real killer is someone else. The real killer is walking free. That Libby was near beheaded, quote, out of rage. Why?
Nancy, you and I both know there's a big difference between verified information and potentially harmful speculation and rumor. You have to ask yourself, how does this benefit the families of these girls? How does this benefit law enforcement? How does this benefit the prosecution? And the answer down the line is it doesn't, not at all. So to me, this can only be just reduced to almost a carnival barker. You're just trying to get hits and likes and people to watch what you're doing. That's all this is. And when you're relying on people that we've never heard from, you're relying on people that are exes or somewhere on the perimeter.
Hold on, I know where you're headed with that, Cheryl McCollum. The very wild Delphi murder theory has now reared its ugly head again. An ex-girlfriend of a former person of interest, Ron Logan, insists that he, Logan, is the real killer, not the pharmacy tech behind bars who has admitted to the murders, who had the gun, whose bullet was found at the scene between the two dead bodies. It had cycled through his gun, used as a scare technique on the girls. You know how somebody, like in the movies, cocks the gun and twists the barrel. That's what he did. And One of those bullets fell out of his gun in his demonstrations to the two victims. Long story short, that bullet matches the gun at the defendant's home. That is incredibly probative, proves something. But that said, I want you to hear our friend Rachel Bonilla from Crime Online.
Connie Dillman is the ex-girlfriend of Ron Logan. She claims they met in a bar and hit it off over their love of horses and the outdoors. Their 6-year relationship had come to an end by the time of the Delphi murders, and Dillman believes Ron Logan is the killer. She says the voice on the tape saying "down the hill" is absolutely him. She also claims that Logan was violent, and when she refused him sex one night, he hit her with a wrench, causing 7 stitches. Dillman has yet to say why she waited.
That wasn't accurate. Are you playing this whole thing?
Eh?
Are you playing this whole thing? That wasn't accurate what that reporter
No,
just said.
No, it's spinning for some reason anyway. No, because what it was is that she said she was breaking up with him, not because of sleeping with him. That's what
when she refused to have sex with him that night, he hit her with a wrench. That's not accurate. This is I mean, it's just infuriating. It's just silliness.
Oh, experiencing interruptions. Find out why. Let's see.
Until now to speak up. Ron Logan.
I don't say A, Veronica. I'm Canadian, and I don't say A.
Kim Dunlap joining us, a reporter from Kokomo.
One second. Sorry. I just naturally say it. I don't think about it.
Logan, a POI person of interest to start with, other than the bodies were found on his property.
But thank you so much, Nancy, for having me on the show. And you know,
Mhm.
I feel like at one point, especially early on, everyone that matched the sketch was potentially the suspect. And I feel like Ron Logan, to a lot of people, matched that first sketch. Now, there was a second sketch that came out, looked a lot different than the first one, but I feel like a lot of it was just because this was his property. He went on, I think, a couple talk shows or a couple media outlets back then and kind of talked about the case in the beginning. But you kind of talked to people in town at the time, and
louder.
He had a search warrant at his house. You kind of talked to people at the time, and we got him. We got Ron Logan. This is the guy. And then it sort of went away. It came back a couple years ago. But I mean, really, I think it was just the nature of the beast back then that if you went public with any information about Delphi, that you were just automatically, especially if you looked like that sketch, you fit that person. You were them. You were that person. You were the first guy.
So why was Ron Logan a person of interest at the beginning of this investigation, and why have new rumors resurfaced now? Listen to Sydney Sumner from Crime Stories.
Did they ever
Ron
stop?
Logan was a person of interest when Libby German and Abby Williams were murdered. Their bodies were found on his property, his house only 1,400 feet from where the girls were discovered.
I think that they resurface now because of this documentary. There's always been the believers, but
the girls. Just before they disappeared, the girls took a video where a heavyset man in a blue jacket is heard saying "down the hill." Investigators have long believed the voice on the film belongs to someone who took part in the murder.
Thanks, Kathy. Yep. Thank you. Love you too.
They sledded him in jail over a probation violation.
Thanks for joining us.
Alibi checked out, police let him go and moved on to other potential suspects.
So let me ask this. Cheryl McCollum joining us from Zone 7. Cheryl, why now? Why is this re-emerging now? Claims by an ex-girlfriend that Ron Logan is the killer, not the perp sitting behind bars who has confessed.
Apparently, she has come out and said, that's his voice, that's him on the bridge. I knew it when they first released it. And then she goes on to say that she called the tip line to even report it. But I don't know where in the last 7 years she's been. I don't know how forceful she was with her understanding and determination that this was, in fact, Ron Logan.
She hasn't been forceful, but she has been talking. She has. I first met her in 2021 and heard her story. And then after she and I spoke, she did start participating in some of the Facebook groups and commenting online
Okay, wait.
with a bit of her story.
Barbara McDonald, I'm all about people participating in Facebook groups. But did she go to police at the time she heard down the hill and say, that is Ron Logan?
She told me in 2021 that she did in fact do that, and that she did in fact have an interview with the FBI around that time.
In 2021.
And at that juncture, let me go to joining us, journalist and author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Delphi Murder in Delphi.
She went in 2017.
If she spoke to detectives
Yeah, it was 2017, right? Yeah.
And they followed up, they actually held Logan, questioned him, and investigated him, and let him go. What more can you tell us, Susan Hendricks?
Thanks for having me, Nancy. It's great to be on. And there were other names mentioned throughout this long period of time, close to 6 years before anyone was in custody. Daniel Nation, Paul Eder, James Chadwell, Keegan Klein, Tony Klein, and of course, Ron Logan, who we're discussing. And I did see the sound from his ex-girlfriend, and I felt for her, but I believe it's confirmation bias.
Yeah, confirmation bias.
What was telling to me was that there were never any charges against Ron Logan. 2 searches of his property, 2, in March 2017, and he was never arrested or charged with the crime. So that was telling to me. And you spoke of kind of the craziness going on around this, and told Becky this morning, I sent her a text that I was going to be on your show, and she said, there's so much craziness right now that if you talked about that, you'd be on the show for hours. So there is a gag order. They take it seriously, but they're very aware of all of this chaos going on, and it's certainly not helping them.
Well, I want to circle back, Cheryl McCollum, to her coming forward and claiming that's my ex-boyfriend right there, the one that beat me. The offense, if I'm wrong, correct me if I am, was February 13, 2017. And she goes forward claiming it's her ex-boyfriend.
No, she went forward in 2017. It was short. It was within days or a week or two.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said 2021.
Yeah, no. I spoke to her in 2021 and she told me her story. But yeah, she did speak to the FBI back in the very early days of the investigation when the FBI was very active, involved in that investigation. And I just wanted to correct one other thing. That taped piece you played said that his alibi checked out. Ron Logan's alibi did not check out. And that is one of the things that I think gives some wiggle room here, and a big question mark on him is he does not have an alibi. According to cell tower data, his phone was at his property at 2:09 p.m. We know from the video that Libby took on her phone that the girls were approached on the bridge at 2:13. Ron had claimed for many years that he was on surveillance video at this tropical fish store in Lafayette, some 30 minutes away, but that store didn't have surveillance video. So there is no proof that he was elsewhere. His phone puts him near his property. That does not mean that he's the killer of the girls, but his alibi does not check out.
Cheryl McCollum, was his alibi confirmed by people that worked at the store?
Receipt.
My memory is he had a receipt, but the time still gave him enough room that he could have gone to the store and back in the period of time that the girls went missing and were been killed. But I want to point out something. In the 7 years that this has been investigated and been highlighted, law enforcement, the volunteer searchers, and the family have not leaked information to the general public. There was so much we never knew. We never knew how they were murdered. We never knew exactly how they were found, clothed or unclothed. Nobody violated that. So I am, again, questioning the timing of somebody that wants to come in and violate it now, so close to trial this coming October.
What are you talking about, Cheryl? Don't be mysterious. Who do you believe has violated a gag order?
What I'm saying is, I'm not trying to be mysterious. I'm trying to be straight out with it. All of these people have kept information. How were they murdered?
What people?
That's never been leaked.
What
Everybody.
Who do you believe has violated a gag order?
I don't know that they violated a gag order because I think they're on the perimeter of it. The ex-girlfriend's not under a gag order. These cousins or aunts and whatnot are not under a gag order. My point is, I don't know why they would at this point try to say things this close to trial that are only for shock value.
That are only what?
For shock value.
Are you talking about so-called documentaries that claim the girls are decapitated or near decapitated and claims the wrong person is behind bars and that the real killer is Ron Logan? Claims like that?
Of course, 100%.
Cheryl, speaking of what is true and that we know, you obtained information about, how is the best way to put it, how the girls were buried. How were they clothed for burial? What can you tell us?
I know that they had scarves around their necks, and I think there's at least 2 other people on this panel today that heard the same information. So again, we know quite possibly their throats were cut. I don't think that would be a shock to any expert in this country looking at a double homicide of 2 young females that were also more than likely sexually assaulted. But again, that's not something that we ever talked about. That is not something we ever put out there for the integrity of this case and out of respect for the family. But I too spoke to a family member and told them that I was going to be on today and that I was going to be as upfront as I possibly could.
Well, people on the inside of the case or near the family, we have known for a long time that the throats have been slashed, but claims of a decapitation or near decapitation and that the wrong person is behind bars, that's all new to me. I don't know that any of that is true. Jessica Morgan joining us, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet.
I like this guy because he's got normal common sense.
So Scott, you have studied the case from the very beginning. I'm trying to sort out what's true.
Joseph Scott Morgan?
And bottom line is that somehow all of the
he's the only one in this entire thing that didn't make me cringe.
That's somehow going to hurt the trial. What can you tell me about your analysis?
I really like his thoughts.
The idea relative to the deaths of these 2 young girls, I've held from the beginning that they were specifically targeted and to.
Well, what do you mean by that? That they were spotted in the park that day, or that they had been being stalked for months and what?
Yeah, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
I think that there was probably an awareness of these young girls in the community.
Well, for Pete's sake, the defendant was the pharmacy tech right there in the middle of town. He knew them and their families.
You are correct about that. And so my thought is that this was an opportunistic event where the individual was looking for targets because they had an awareness of the school being out that particular day. They had, the individual, that is the perpetrator in this case, had a preset location where he was going to take them to, where he would have time with them, or whichever victim had come along at that particular time that would suit his needs. And it would be in a location where he could have access to them, have privacy with them, because if what we are hearing about the crime scene, this is a complex crime scene, I think, with a lot of evidence that was down immediately adjacent to the bodies. Now we've gotten off, chasing rabbits, I think, relative to a lot of this stuff that's floating around out there about how they could have potentially have been, sacrificed by Odinist and all these sorts of things. But at its bare bones, what does the science tell us? And we don't have a lot that has been released to this point relative to them. I think one of the most disturbing things is you've got, admittedly, a lot of intimate contact that's going on, but yet we don't have DNA linkage that goes back to the primary suspect in this case.
How about under the girl's fingernails, specifically Libby's?
Yeah, and I think that is a potential place to harvest that DNA from, because you're going to have somebody that's fighting back. For folks that don't know how this works, if you think about a plow going into kind of virgin soil, and it's dragging along, creates furrows, that's one of the things that you begin to think about with fingernails, where you're going to capture skin, blood, hair, that's beneath the fingernails. And they would have done, look, they didn't just do nail scrapings and nail clippings at autopsy. They did rape kits as well, Nancy. I can almost perfectly guarantee that. They also did alternative lighting photography, which is using things like infrared. If you can pick up on anything, any kind of marks on the body, I hope that they did all of this. They put on a full court press with this to try to collect as much data as they could from these bodies.
Well, isn't it true that we have been told at the get-go, Cheryl, that Abby was dressed, Libby was not?
Some variation of that, yes. I've heard different type rumors, but yes, that's what we've been told.
Rumors, gossip, innuendo now could damage the trial based on what? An ex-girlfriend that claims to recognize the defendant's voice saying down the hill, played on a loop. Let's talk about the evidence that we do know. To Susan Hendricks, Barbara McDonald, and Cheryl McCollum, what evidence do we know that connects the defendant, who is headed for trial right now? Number one, his admission behind bars while on the phone. All of those calls are being recorded to family members claiming he did it. Number two, the bullet from his gun, based on hard ballistics forensics, found at the scene between the bodies, matched back to his gun, still in his possession at his home. And also feline hair, cat hair. Police actually exhumed a family cat from the defendant, Allen's yard, to match up to cat hair found on one of the victims, a victim that we don't believe has ever been in the defendant's home. Now, Cheryl,
did Nancy just leak something, or are we speculating? Like that wasn't released. That's not known. They didn't exhume a cat on paper. Tell me where she heard that from. You're muted.
I haven't said anything yet, but I was muted.
Okay. Where did she get that from? And
well, more importantly, like, are we supposed to know something about this cat hair that actually was attached to a fiber found at the crime scene from his cat? When did we actually hear that for a fact ever?
We know that they dug a small hole, and somebody said it was about the size of a bottle cap. I don't know that you could squeeze a cat carcass out of that.
I did hear about the cat thing a long time ago.
I did too, but it was speculation. It was speculation, and it was put out as speculation.
Yes,
that wasn't something that anybody said. Oh, they dug up his cat. No, that was.
But the thing is, she even went further though, and said that the cat hair found at the crime scene was the same for the cat that they exhumed. And I'm like, right, like, Nancy, do you know something that we shouldn't be knowing? Like,
right. She just spilled some beans, but I mean, to go to the rest of the show, and I don't know how much you're actually going to play to it. I don't think that she has inside information, and for whatever reason, Barbara McDonald and Susan Hendricks didn't speak up and correct or shut down anything that was being said that I found to be disturbing, knowing that Susan had told Becky that she was going to be on Nancy Grace, and we can safely assume that at least Becky watched it. It just makes my stomach curdle to think that they watched this.
Right. Because there was, I don't know, let me put it this way. It wasn't my favorite episode of listening to Nancy Grace on this. A lot of it seemed like, why do you keep talking about the decapitation and the clothes at the funeral and stuff?
Because we know it didn't happen. We know it didn't happen. So why are you using that word over and over and over and over again? Why? What
Um,
benefits you to keep on that narrative? Why?
yeah, just like I said, my favorite part of this was listening to that gentleman speak there, Joe Scott, whatever his
Joseph
name is.
Scott Morgan, yeah.
Yeah, Morgan. Because to me, he just had the most common sense and like, muddying the waters and exactly and stuff like that. And you could tell too when we're listening to it that there's some slight, incorrect or things that were said incorrect. And this one right here as well, like again, we've never heard that the hair uh, at the crime scene matched the cat. So unless she has some privy information, which I don't think so,
But
she
we
might
all
got
speculated about it though, so
sure
it's possible. But my point is, how would
possible.
she know that?
Mm.
Because she's speaking as though she's seen it. She knows it.
Right,
She's
right,
looking at
exactly.
something on her paper about
Yeah,
what evidence connects Richard Allen, and she's reading it. So did she
yeah.
just leak something? Did she just oopsie something? Or
But that's just it, right? So is it an oopsie or is it something that people are going to listen to that are now going to say, "Ah, I didn't
they
know
assumed
that
his
that,"
cat didn't match the hair? Like, why are we doing this?
you know?
Drama for viewers, exactly. And it's just unconscionable.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, when I personally watched it, just right from the get go, like I said, and I like watching Nancy Grace, but when you kind of have been following Delphi more in depthly than Nancy Grace or a lot of these other ones that know a good chunk of the story in senses, but I wouldn't call them true followers of the case, not like sleuths that are truly into Delphi that will pick out typically when there's an oopsie or a mistake being said. It's kind of like when they kept saying Ron Logan died in 2020. It's just like, no, he didn't. Why do you guys keep saying that? You
Well,
know?
Veronica, that's probably exactly what it is. But my point is, she's doing it as though it's fact. It's part of evidence that we know that she's listing off that has been confirmed in court documents, and then just throwing this one piece of we don't know that information in there. And now, how many people are going to see this and think that that is true, that that is
When
happening,
we
that
don't
that
know if
is,
it is.
but
It
we
could
don't
be,
know. But
but we don't know.
it's the way that it's being put out there that's just troubling.
Right, because it come off like it was fact.
Yeah,
And
right in
yeah,
the middle of known factual evidence. I just,
you know.
I,
I'll just play a little bit more of it. Um, like I'll just play a little bit more of it.
mhm.
See what else, let's see. Oh, I guess I gotta go over to this part screen.
Damning. What more can you add?
I just don't understand why it's so
I mean,
low.
again, the fact that he told a law enforcement person that he was there that day.
Isn't
that
it
to me
low
is
to
so
you?
critical.
You mean
The
at the
fact that
Trestle
perhaps
Bridge?
his car.
And I got it
Yeah,
cranked.
I mean, it's just like
He
Scott Peterson going,
places
yeah, I was
himself
at the
there.
marina the day Lacey
Mhm.
went missing at the body of water where
Exactly.
I was fishing, but that was just a big coinky dink.
Exactly.
What's a grown man with
And
a family doing out in the middle of the day when he should be working by himself, walking on a trestle bridge at the same time the girls go missing and are murdered?
they didn't seek him out. He sought them out to tell them, hey, I was here. If you need anything, I can help you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's going to be some other things that come out. They have not told us everything. I keep harping on that, and there's a reason.
And nor
They're
should
playing
they.
this so close to the vest.
Barbara
and nor
McDonald joining
should
us,
they.
Court TV documentary producer
She
and
like cuts him right
producer
off.
of HLN's Down the Hill podcast. Barbara, what evidence in your mind is the strongest evidence linking the defendant, Allen, to the murders of Libby and Abby?
I think his own admission in the beginning that he was out there, that he was dressed similarly to the man that Libby captured on the video, and that the witness statements, while they're a little bit all over the place, there is a lot of similarity in what the witnesses said, and they
It's at its
seem to have
highest
seen a
share.
man dressed like him around the time he says he was there, so that all seems to line up.
So the fact that he places himself at the scene wearing the same kind of clothes as the guy pictured in the girl's cell phone. To you, Susan Hendricks, what do you believe is the strongest evidence linking Allen to the murders?
I believe it is the unspent bullet, but as you know, Nancy, it could be the battle of the experts when they get on the stand. I've heard from some experts that yes, is like a fingerprint from others. I'm sure they will dispute that. To me, what stands out are those jailhouse calls that both the defense and the prosecution mentioned at a hearing this past June. And I always think back to Casey Anthony and those jailhouse calls. We know that the prisoners know that it is recorded. So it will be interesting to see exactly what was said and will it be played in court. To me, that's the most damning. And of course, as Cheryl and Barbara mentioned, being on the bridge that day.
What do you mean by jailhouse calls potentially being the most damning evidence?
If the prosecution and the defense mentioned at that hearing in June that he did admit to doing this, to killing Abby and Libby. And I believe it was on an iPad or a phone call, a device. It was recorded. So will they play it in court? I'm sure they will as evidence that he confessed to his wife and his mother.
I mean, just so to you, Matthew Mangino joining us, high-profile lawyer, former prosecutor in Lawrence County, and author of The Executioner's Toll: The Crimes, Arrests, Trials, Appeals, Last Meals, and Final Words, and executions of 46 persons in the U.S. Matthew Mangino, thank you for being with us. Matthew, why now? Just as we're heading to trial, are all these wild theories and so-called specials occurring that are spouting out evidence that either is not true or is very
Wait, what,
harmful
Nancy?
to the
Did you
state
just
case?
say that?
She did.
Well,
She said
Nancy,
that.
obviously this case has generated a great deal of publicity, and people want their opportunity for 15 minutes of fame. They want people want to talk to them. There's gag orders, so we don't know a lot that's going on in court, and so if you're going to generate any news about this case, it's going to come from people on the fringe. But what it does is it contaminates the jury pool. I mean, so you have Carroll County is not a huge county. If you're going to try this case there, and all this publicity is swirling around the community about other offenders or other people involved, or the salacious, details of what happened, that pool is going to be contaminated. And this case may need to be moved, or another jury brought in because of, these rumors that are swirling through the community and across the country.
To Dr. Jory L. Crossan, a psychologist, former law enforcement, now faculty at St. Leo University. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. What is the motivator for people to make up stories or publish stories that are really just sensationalist and that could actually damage the trial?
Okay, this is where I don't know. Like on that one, it's kind of like Nancy. Like, what is it? Like people make up stories and this and that and this and that. Yeah, okay, some people do and stuff like that. But kind of like anyone, right? Like to me, it's kind of in true crime here. Like I said, we don't got a million followers, 2 million followers, and whatever, a lot of us and stuff like that. And you're just trying to put pieces to the puzzle together, which is trying to figure it out and talk about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, those other ones. But it's kind of like, isn't that what they're doing by doing these episodes really themselves as well?
And to mainstream media, and absolutely no offense to YouTubers whatsoever, mainstream media has to be held to a higher standard of fact finding and reporting. And
Yes.
And this is why. This is exactly why, because now we're hearing that, YouTubers or whatever, they're hurting his chances for a fair trial. Maybe. I don't know that. Maybe. But you know what for sure is? Mainstream media, who has millions of followers, spreading misinformation as fact. That's a problem. Because even there were years of my life that I watched Nancy Grace, and I never, ever watched YouTube. And I'm sure there are more people like that than there are like us in the world.
Steph, I guess you ignored our media hats, by the way, that I made a long time ago, thanks to JLR. Thank you very much. Actually, just took them down recently. Didn't sell a one, especially not to Steffa. Just like, we're just gonna wait for Mel. Huh? What happened to that when I was promoting the media hats? Told you guys all to get one. We'll sit there with our media hats on. And it always made me laugh about that. Anyways, yeah, I absolutely to a higher standard, again, because someone's going to listen to that cat stuff, and then they're going to be convinced that because it came out of Nancy Grace's mouth, because somehow coming out of her mouth is going to be better than the police, I suppose. But it's nothing that was ever confirmed, or even it was just said that there was that the cat was exhumed, but nothing confirmed. But like I said, after people see this, but like I said, I don't think she acts like all this stuff is going to ruin the case. I just don't really honestly see it that way. Like, okay, I do think that the defense, do not play stupid with us, defense, please. We're a lot smarter than that. You purposely released that whole Odinism angle. You guys wanted it to be out there. You guys keep playing those cards because you're doing everything you can to put that information And so that when the jury pool comes, they'll have heard of probably this odinistic angle, and blah, blah, blah. It's like dropping and planting seeds. You know damn well that they did that on purpose. Absolutely. You see that dirtiness to me. Well, I don't know if it's dirty and by the eyes of the law, but it's just you see their little dirty plays at work, and you're not fooled by them. You know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it however they want to deem it as. What's the word I'm looking for, Charmaine? When they're slyly, specifically doing these little drops, in a sense. The word is there. It's not there.
Just being,
Uh,
sneaky.
no, yeah, no. There's a word. It's not coming to me.
And
It's
that Frank's memo was dropped at like 2:16 a.m. that day. So I know, I get it that it was done on purpose so that the public would have a chance to grab it before it was sealed. I do believe that that was intentional.
of course.
I do not think that it was in violation of the gag order. And if it was, they'll be found in contempt here next month. Maybe they even bring that up.
Well, I mean, I was honestly like just from my own personal intake, I was quite offended that they literally dropped all that information. As much as I would love to know about the crime scene and stuff like that, I just couldn't believe that. To me, it just like they were just letting it out to everyone. And kind of like the prosecutor's podcast says, they all know that when you click, you need to click, public and whatever. And they clicked public to make it public. It was no oopsie stuff. But I was like, and I think this was their intent, like anyone, I was kind of blown away by just literally everything that people were kind of wanting to hear. The defense is like, here you go. Let's just put all the crime scene information out there for you guys. I don't know why, but I just felt like that was it just felt like it was breaking every freaking rule to me of the gag order. Like, like here's this, and the next thing you know, that went down into, people being pissed at Barbara McDonald because she's not showing the right thing. So here's this as well. I just don't like how that all came about like that. Did
No,
I?
absolutely. I didn't either. And it
You
still bothers me that it went down like that and that the information about the crime scene was included because it really had nothing to do with Frank's issue.
Right.
Those details had nothing to do with the Frank's issue.
Well, I mean, but it was all playing into their thing. Like if we do a step by step, and that this one was placed to look like this and this one was placed to look like that. But it just, to me, it was like taking it too far to me. And I don't know, like I said, the lie part of all that stuff, because Travis says we kept asking Travis that about that, like, well, isn't that like, like kind of going against like the gag order or yeah, like going against the gag order, like just letting loose all that stuff to the free world. You would think that stuff, like I said, would have been put in court and not here public. Here you guys go. Here's some really juicy shit. Like, when you smell something, there's something about it. And that's what I smell with the defense, is that I just smell that those people that are like wolves, right, in sheep's clothing, somewhat there. Like they play their games. They play their games, and they typically know what the borders are of what they can get away with, and they probably know what might happen if it's like, oops, bad us, we hit public, we meant to hit. And I don't know. I just feel like they're playing dirty in a sense. And yet it's working for a lot of those people out there that don't necessarily have brains on their shoulders, that fall for that stuff. And that's exactly what it happens. Then everything goes chaotic, and I know that you and Adam both keep saying like how, ever since this whole mess, really, people are becoming like either hate goal, like goal, hate defense, they're pro prosecutor. You know what I mean? Like there's this big division and stuff going on now. More so, I could like I don't really overly pay attention to it because, it's, again, it's one of those things. Just you have to always look at both sides of things, and then and then obviously just wait for trial and then see what happens. But it just seems like everything that's getting talked about is about this lawyer stuff and da 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 da. And maybe that's why the paperwork kind of bores me to a point because I'm here for Abby and Libby and the trial and justice. And to watch how this crappy shit play out like it is, it just bugs me because it just means longevity to an already long case for Abby and Libby. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to get on with it. Stop this freaking kindergarten shit that's going on, and just, you know what I mean? Just show your evidence. Just show your evidence for both sides. Here. If you guys are also ready, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I
agree.
Yeah.
I
Anyway.
agree with most of what you said.
I don't really know if I want to watch more Nancy, to be honest with you.
No, I don't.
It's too low, and honestly, it did nothing. It was, like I said, the only thing that I really like listening to in this particular episode. Again, sorry, Nancy, but it wasn't my favorite episode at all. And I really just like listening to that guy that was talking, and is this the one where the ladies? No, or is that in the other? No, that's in the documentary, wasn't it? Or not documentary, but episode.
What?
And whatever reason, this episode's really low. Her episode. I noticed that yesterday too, that it was really low. I think I heard it better on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there. My camera was blurry there. Let's see. Both sides have been messy as fuck from where I sit. Just seeing.
People say like they're playing games, they're delaying, and I don't think they're doing that. I think they're doing what they think they have to do procedurally. But for what? Now we're so far off the trail of justice for Libby and Abby that we're kind of lost in the now contempt for the defense. Like, we get it, they fucked up, we get it, we understand, sanction them, put them in jail for a week, do what you got to do, but then let's just get on with it already. Let's just stop the nonsense. Let's remember what this is all about here.
Miss Depp, I'm probably going to disagree with that one a little bit there because the Erskine texts have been out there for quite a while. Those came to bit David Erskine in the ass, hence the reason that he moved.
Now, is that because some of the information in those texts was not accurate, and we come to find that out now?
Well, the thing is that, in hindsight, because he said to me that Abby was wearing the same clothes that she had on in the bridge. Clearly not. So, either or, those texts, a lot of people, those texts have been huge for a lot of people since they came out because it gave a little bit of insight from somebody that was, or claims that says that he was the first one to find those girls. He says it in another text that I have, and he says that, like I said, that he was the first one to come across those girls. But I don't know. To me, those texts were kind of like a big eye opener to a lot of people about certain things. They're kind of a big part of the case, really, like meaning to the sleuths, in a sense. So, I mean, that part didn't bug me so much about seeing those just because they're a big part. I think what bugged me probably, if anything, is when they were trying to create drama and show things about like Rick Snake going off on Julie Melvin and stuff like that,
Using the clips of the families when they were clearly not interested in
or
participating.
that, and yeah, and making it seem like anyone watching that doesn't knows that would think like Aspen said it, and which it came across to me as well, as if they were participating in the documentary. Um, there should have been something perhaps there that said, like, although we reached out to the Patties or whatever, da 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 da, because I mean, but again, they're like anyone; they can use whatever clips they want and create. And if people are going to follow it, the next one is on the 28th. So in 4 more days, the next one comes out. All I say is this, like anything in life, you take everything with a grain of salt, and for me, I know that like Gonzo used to always say his favorite expression, I swear to God, was, you know, just wait for the process, just wait for the process. And I finally, it took me a while to understand that. I mean, I understood it, but probably not to the extent where I'm so over, like I said, like this stuff going on. And I just want the process to happen. Like I said, if the defense is so ready and the prosecutors are so ready, great. Lay out your cases, prove your guilt. If you think that Richard Allen is the BG and whatever, prove it then, right? And the defense, pull out your story of your odinistic angle and all this stuff and all these other people that they're going to bring up, James Brian Chadwell, they're going to bring up all those other people, and they're going to bring.
How do you figure? No, they won't. They can't.
The defense?
Yeah, they can't do that in court without losing credibility with their main theory. Like they've chosen this theory. They can change their mind, but
no. What maybe I'm saying this wrong, because what I'm saying is that the defense is going to use that on the prosecution about all these other people that they were looking at, including Richard Allen. So meaning that the defense is going to use that on the prosecution about all their mistakes, and kind of like, because they were looking at Daniel Nations, they were looking at all those people, stuff like that. They put out 2 different sketches, they did all those things, that stuff that the defense is going to be like, like you guys don't know your hole from your, head in the ground type of thing.
Absolutely.
And meaning I'm just talking about the reasonable doubt shit, because there's going to be a shitload of it, because there's a shitload of stuff that the prosecution are meaning, the evidence. And remember that, like, we don't know, but remember how they keep talking about the chain of command for the bullet? I don't know. Like I said, we'll see what
and
all.
Not just that, we need to see the experts, because my big thing with the bullet, I'm not calling it junk science at all. But
me neither.
I don't understand the mechanics of mass production nowadays. Like, is more than one gun possible of making those stray marks? Like, I don't know. I need to hear the experts explain to me how guns are made nowadays and how those marks go on, not even casings, on bullets.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So it's not junk science. I'm sure there's forensics and stuff to back up that evidence.
Right.
But
in Fig's last video, there was just that, an expert saying that no.
An expert. But again, did they explain mass production of firearms? Probably not. Probably not.
Well, it was a part of a clipping, an expert talking about the ballistics, exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
About because they were kind of talking about that, about the mass amounts of bullets, in a sense, because that question was asked in it about, like, if basically 2 people had the same gun and they got, they buy these bullets, will the bullet strikings or whatever be different? And
no, that's not what I'm saying, Sonny. I'm saying you've got 2 different guns, thousands and thousands of bullets, and the bullets all come out the same because they're all made through the same press machine. If they're handmade, different story. The same as the guns. If every component of that gun is handmade, different story. Then you're going to have individualized fingerprints inside the chamber. But if it's mass produced by the same machine, is it possible for two guns to create those same markings? I'm not talking about the bullets. I'm talking about the gun and the components inside the gun. That's the expert testimony that I'm interested in hearing.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
You were saying more the bullets.
Well,
They
okay.
have the same markings.
So let me okay. So let me just say what I mean. It was in, I think, Fig's thing. So if you have two guns, type of thing, your whatever Sig Sauer thing, and those guns are whatever, like, you know, I think that with every gun being made, to me, I think it would be like being a twin. There's going to be like just something a little slightly different. But I guess what I was watching, what I'm trying to say is that if you put the, you know, like obviously there's thousands of bullets of the same for the same guns that are out there in mass production, and you put the same bullet inside of it. And the question was, say, the guy talking about it in that video, whatever, was asked about if you put a bullet in this gun, and you have an exact same, like say, same gun, right? And you put the bullet in here and bullet in here. Are the
Same gun off the same assembly line, made the same day.
right? And he said no, that they wouldn't be the same. That one would be distinctive to that one, and that one would be distinctive to that, even if they were like the same, because the markings would
I
come
certainly
off.
need to hear more than one expert's opinion, because
Or, yeah,
again,
but
the experts that some people choose to listen to, and it's going to be the same at trial. The defense is going to have their experts and the prosecution. And right now, all I'm hearing is prosecution experts saying this is damning evidence. I want to hear both sides, and the jury will want to hear both sides and come to their
and
own
they will.
conclusion. And they will.
Because I've listened to both sides of it when I was, you know, searching around, because like you, I want to hear both sides. You know, I want to hear where it's junk science. I want to hear why they're saying it's junk science.
Mhm.
And then I also want to hear the other side of it. No different than I want to hear what the defense has to say, and I want to hear what they have to say. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's really going to boil down to, some people consider it junk science. I don't, but I'm not a professional. I don't think it's junk. After what I listen to, I don't think it's junk science. It makes sense to me. Like, what are the chances that this gun that has the distinct marks from a bullet happens to be Richard Allen, who happens to be at the trail, you know, with the same jacket, same type of, you know, stuff on and stuff like that, you know, and then the confessions are there, but to me, those are still off to the side, like, meaning, okay, so he said confessions or whatever, but I just think to myself, like, so what's the probability that a gun from, or a bullet, you know, with these markings come from this gun that he owns and match it, and yet, you know, even let's just say two in the world that it match, but anyways, and then he also happens to be at the bridge that day at the same time that the girls are and stuff like that. So, you know, remember how I think they tried to change it? There's like his story that no, he left at 1:30. I bet you any money they said that, Charmaine. I bet you any, I'm not sure, but my guess is this. My guess is the reason why they're saying that is because he's only caught on camera at one point, where the cameras are showing him driving, and they're going to make it seem like he was leaving versus coming and going. So that's my thought on that one. I could totally be way off, but that's why I think that they were playing that card. No. He wasn't there from 1:30 to 3 of 57. No, he was there from this time to this time, you know, and then they're going to try to, of course, shoot down the witnesses that this one's saying this, that they don't, you know, that could have been anybody, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's how I kind of see that one playing out.
I'm honestly, I'm afraid to hear the defense at trial, because I think that they're going to raise enough reasonable doubt, and I do lean more towards Richard Allen being guilty. Believe it or not, I know I'm up here, you know, spouting off or whatever, and it sounds like I don't, but I am leaning that way, absolutely. But I'm afraid that they've got themselves a pretty good theory there, and it's going to raise reasonable doubt, and that's what I'm afraid of. And
No, that's exactly what I'm afraid of as well. I believe Richard Allen For the most part, pretty much everything in me is that he's guilty. Um, like, I don't know why someone age 45 that doesn't have a record, 44, I should say, doesn't have a record, would do it. But is it going to be unbeknownst for people to do that? No. I'd like to understand that reason. But I'm just more afraid that exactly what you just said, that the reasonable doubt, that's why I keep saying that they better have some sort of smoking gas gun that
Yeah.
they literally can go, you know what, here's his vehicle on video here, so that's not right, that's not accurate,
I
you know.
truly believe there's more than that. I truly believe that they've got
Sure.
some kind of DNA or blood or animal hair. I do. I believe that the prosecution has a strong case, and we just don't know about it yet. They're too busy right now trying to sweep their messes and their mess ups under the rug because of all the mistakes that the defense has made. Heaven forbid that it come out that we fucked up too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I do believe that Nick McClellan can handle the case. It doesn't seem so on the surface, but I don't know the man. He got his job for a reason. Who am I to say he can't? But I'm just here to keep. I will argue with the prosecution heavy person all day long because they tend to not even consider anything the defense says or give it any kind of weight, which is fine. That's their prerogative, but I refuse to be that way.
We're going over to Stewie's.
What was that? I heard like a male voice, I swear.
It was my phone.
Oh. Okay, Charmaine, 2 questions. What Kim French says, what do you guys think of the motorcycle tarp that was taken into evidence? Do you think that there's something to that, regardless if you believe some far-fetched story that was obviously taken in as evidence? Do you think that there is something to that tarp in any way, way, shape, or form?
From what I understand, and I don't know, and I'm going to apologize beforehand if I'm speaking out of turn here, but was there not contaminated DNA and or animal hair on that tarp? I don't know. That's what I heard, and if that's the case, then that could very well be this strong piece of evidence that that's not been made public yet. I think it's probably pretty important. Do I believe that Richard Allen went back there on a motorcycle after the fact for whatever reason? No, of course not. That doesn't even make sense.
Kim, we actually talked about this. I was probably the first channel, like everyone was dancing around it, and then Charmaine actually said, I just wish somebody would say the truth about this whole,
Like, what is the big secret about it? It was everybody was talking about it behind the scenes, but it was like, shh, don't say anything. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, and
Right.
so anyways, and then all of a sudden, then Aspen starts talking about it, and yes, so we had talked about this, like I said, months ago, this whole thing. Me, I'm sorry, there's no way in my brain ever that I'll think that Richard Allen went hopping back on some loud ass motorcycle back to a crime scene when people are now looking for. No, it doesn't make sense. Now, is there perhaps something to that tarp? That's a whole different story.
Maybe, and to me, the first thing I thought when I saw the motorcycle thing, maybe because I have a Harley, and for whatever reason, some days in the summertime I'm lazy and I'll take the cover off of it and I'll throw it in my trunk because it happens to be right there. Possibly, maybe the cover was in the trunk, and then Bridge Guy threw the knife and the bloody clothes and stuff in his trunk, and it got, that's what I thought. But then after that, I started hearing, oh, no, he went back to the scene on a motorcycle. And I was like, okay, have you never ridden on a back road in a motorcycle? You're not sneaking anywhere on a motorcycle.
On the motorcycle.
Especially not out in the bush with no leaves on the trees. That exhaust echoes for miles. You're not sneaking anywhere on a bike.
Yeah, that it just, when something really sounds absurd, chances are it's because it is absurd on that one. So in my head too, I was thinking, okay, so if this motorcycle cover just happens to be in the back part of the trunk, and I believe that that Kathy Allen had made for his brother for the tombstone, did something because he was a motorcycle rider or whatever. The brother made him some sort of wreath or something out of this supposed. I think it was someone claimed it was on her Facebook. I don't know. I didn't
I heard
actually.
that too, yeah.
Yeah, and so if that's why they took it and that they got something, but I just kind of in my head pictured this tarp being in the back of his vehicle. He threw stuff in there, but there was still like maybe perhaps some DNA or some sort of something on it. Hence why they took a motorcycle cover, or maybe it's because they saw tracks of some sort. Who knows? But I don't know. If whatever comes out in the court with that, so be it. But as for thinking that he actually went back to the crime scene and was freaking like, I think of Elvis Presley riding down on his motorcycle. I'm just gonna go pick up my hat that I left there.
And just because they took something in the search doesn't mean they found evidence on it. Like they could have taken it.
We saw many times, especially like in the Koberger case, where they take all this evidence. Was there any of this? No.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the odd thing that says yes. You know, that's how I see that. Whatchamacallit, just quickly, Ben said, Sonny and Jermaine, do you think Alan told Doolin he left at 1:30 p.m. and that's why he wasn't a suspect? No, he said he left at 3:30.
Now, this is where Tom would come in really handy because he has this stuff all on a spreadsheet. I would like to know, do you remember when the still shot of Bridge Guy came out? And was it the 15th? And if so, did Richard Allen approach Doolin before that? Like, was he unaware that they had this image?
And the 15th is when it came out.
Pardon me?
The 15th, because we played that in the video at the very start.
So that photo came out. So my question is, did Richard Allen give his tip or his information to Doolin before he knew that they had a picture of Bridge Guy? So was that why he was so comfortable saying, I was there, this is what I was wearing? Because he had no idea the next day or whatever they were going to have this picture. But because if he saw that and he goes and he says, I was there and I was dressed just like that guy, but that's not me, or maybe that is me, but I didn't do anything to the girls. That to me shines in two completely different circumstances.
Right. Now, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that the answer to that one was no. He hadn't seen the picture yet.
So he went before that picture.
Yeah, that's what my understanding has been. Now you can confirm with our friend Tom on that, but that's how I remember hearing it all the time, even up until recently, that he didn't know that that there was even this picture of him. So now if we think about it, though, the girls were found on the 14th in the afternoon. So did he? I can't remember what day it was. You guys know the answer to that one?
I heard now that so they were found on the 14th. The scene was secured until the 16th.
14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Released on the 17th. Yeah. Released on the 17th but Ron Logan was down in there with that reporter on the 16th, was he not? So, I mean, I get that it's his property, but they were right up to the crime scene too. I just, like I said, Tom's got it all probably on a spreadsheet.
Tom's got it all on spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Double check those facts. But like I said, because as far as I remember it, it's always been said that he didn't know. And that's why he was so willing to because he didn't realize that there was a freaking video of him out there, or a video. So that's to me why he would be so willing to be like,
and that's where language is very important to me. Like the way people say things, like he's not admitting to being on the bridge. You're admitting to something if you're being accused or asked a question. He is volunteering information. Yeah. And without realizing that they have a photo of the individual. So he's basically volunteering information that he doesn't know is going to absolutely do nothing because nobody can take a proper tip in the case apparently. But
because obviously if he's seen a picture come out, he'd be like, oh dang,
Yeah, I
was
wasn't wearing that.
same thing. No, I was wearing. Well, yeah, but in his case, he was like, "Dang, yeah, I was wearing." And I even believe I had a hat on as well.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
why it's kind of one of those things. Like, hey,
But
look at that,
again,
my twinsies on the bridge.
yeah. But like honestly, Gray Hughes at this point is beating a dead horse when it comes to the timeline. But the one part that he says that is bang on is that the only person between who was
Yes,
the woman
the
and the
woman.
girls,
Yeah,
and
but
then Abby and Libby was Richard Allen. There was nobody else there.
yeah,
So, I mean, it was Richard Allen on the bridge, 100%. There's no denying that part.
right. And that's
Just
the
based
part.
on the timeline in the PCA.
Yeah, right. And to me, like I said, the defense. Like I said, I feel like they did a great job of like what David Hennessy said, that it was a work of art, that they literally have tried to smash each of these parts by changing the time that he left, by changing again like this to go to this whole Odinistic thing and blah blah blah. I think they've done a good job with trying to portray this whole other story, but then it's going to come down to, like I said, the truth in a sense of
But can
what's
we say that though? Because is it
well,
true that those witness statements were not accurate? I'm not going to say that they were altered or anything like that, but maybe they changed over the years, or maybe they weren't recorded or whatever. It could be anything at this point, would. Now the
yeah,
defense has
could
raised
be.
the issue. So we don't
I,
know.
Let me put it this way. In my personal gut instinct, I think that well, let me hope, because I said the same thing about Barry Morphew when he was arrested. I thought that they would have had him like dead to rights, and then when I was listening to the testimony from the prosecution, I was like, and I was thinking, okay, this shit's weak. Okay, but we're just about to get to the good shit about why it's like slam his ass to the wall type of thing, and then I was like, wait a second, really? This is what you got against Barry Morphew? And then of course they had to turn around and pull back, right? Full stop. And so I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? This is like your strongest evidence? And I was just in shock. So I hope the same thing doesn't happen here with Richard Allen's case, is that, that McClellan thinks that he's like gung-ho, got this shit. And then you're just like, wait a second. Well, most of that is what we already knew. Where's the smoking bullet? Where's that signed, sealed, and delivered type of hammer type of thing? So I'm hoping and praying that there's one of those moments where it's just like, gotcha, Richard Allen. If it is him, which I believe it is, but I just mean it's not that I don't believe it's him either, like you said. It's just I'm just worried if there's enough reasonable doubt. Is there enough reasonable doubt, and the prosecution's case isn't as strong as perhaps, it like what they think it is, and and kind of like, I can't remember who said it earlier. I will absolutely be gutted if it's one of those things that Richard Allen did something, but the case couldn't be proven because there was too much reasonable doubt.
That
And
is
then
the worst. That is my biggest fear with this case. That we're
absolutely,
going to have a monster roaming the countryside because of all these fuck ups.
yeah, the whole purpose of the gag order was to try to keep the case toned down, but defense wasn't having it. Absolutely, and they weren't having it. They want to taint the jury pool. They keep things in chaos. It's right, exactly. It's a strategy. Thank you. That's kind of probably the word I was kind of looking for earlier when I was trying to think that they're purposely, doing it. It's their strategy, to do exactly what's happened, and they love it. They're loving it, like, because again, they're not they're not there to care about Abby and Libby. They're there to get their client and get him, off the charges. And these
But do
guys,
you think that do you guys honestly think that, so these lawyers, these men, They're citizens of Indiana. So do you think that they'd be working so hard to free Richard Allen if they didn't truly believe that he was innocent? Like, do you think that they'd be working so hard to free somebody that they thought maybe could have killed these two little girls in such a horrific way? I mean, I think that they truly believe in his innocence. So I'm not angry with them for anything that they're doing. I don't know what the evidence shows, and obviously their perception is what it is, but I can't wrap my head around them being these dirty defense lawyers that are just playing games and strategizing and just trying to get their client off. I think that they really truly believe he's innocent. I do.
I kind of see two parts to it. I do believe that they believe that he's innocent, but what I feel like myself is that they had this case given to them, and this case is a hell of a huge case for them to receive. And I feel like in the public eye, like these to me are kind of like, especially more Rosie than probably Baldwin, but Rosie comes off as that, slick, like was animated type of lawyer more so. And to me, it's kind of like with this case, they're going to work their asses off to the public because this case is so high profile that I think that they would work their asses off regardless if they felt, just to show the public all these theatrics and what they're doing for this case. I kind of see it both ways, to be honest with you. But like I said, I see that. You guys get what I'm saying there? I just see that, if this case wasn't as huge as it is, I don't think that they'd be given, if it wasn't in the spotlight like it is, I don't think that Richard Allen would be getting that same determination that they're going for. I don't.
I don't know, because you're talking about men who have children, who have grandchildren, who, I don't see it. Maybe it's because I've got this horrible habit of thinking people have a strong sense of morality.
No, support with Steffa. Okay, think what you want on that support with Steffa, but they were willing to go pro bono, and even Bob Motta was talking about this. Go pro bono. They could not afford to go pro bono if their life depended on it, because it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for them to get expert witnesses if they had to do it pro bono. The only thing that would ever go pro bono is if they had this backing of other defense lawyers that pooled in a bunch of money to help them go pro bono. That was a tactic, and a tactic that they knew wasn't, like, in a sense, really, they knew that what Fran Gull did was wrong, but that was, to me, like that tactic in there. And she should have, of course, even agreed to say do pro bono. But no, I mean, if you listen to what the experts were saying about that, like I said, that would cost them over like $1 million to do that. They wouldn't have done pro bono unless they had backing up. But it's like a tactic. It would be a tactic. So that's how absolutely I see that. They're not going to put out freaking $1 million of their own money and be like, let me just fight for your. Hell no. Heck no.
That was just to me, the pro bono thing was just it was a path to the original action. I think that they were being advised by the same people who were talking to Bob Motta.
Yes.
I mean, I think it was all part of a strategy that was not their idea, that pro bono thing. I think that came from that
strategy. Exactly.
That office that ended up filing the writ.
Well, even Bob Motta said, I think that they listened to what I was saying, because I was saying for them to go pro bono. I remember him saying something like that. And so, yeah, exactly. That's probably a better word.
They did. They actually, Bob and Allie called.
Yeah.
They called and said, this is what you should do. And then the next thing you know, that's what they did. And the whole time they had Kara and Maggie working probably already on those writs, really, as soon as they were removed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously it didn't go that route, and it went basically to what That's all I was waiting for was Judge Fran actions wrong? Would the Supreme Court see it that way? Obviously, they didn't agree with what she did. They said that, for these reasons, like it's a last resort, and she didn't feel like the proper process went through for that to be a last resort. Put them back on the case, and and rightfully so.
Mhm.
Like I said, if there's a process and that's a last resort thing, and you didn't, and the proper guidelines weren't followed, so yeah, okay. I mean, I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. I just didn't know what. I don't know Supreme Court or what they're going to do. I didn't know if Fran Gull was like, you just sometimes as a regular person would think that, look, Fran Gull's been a judge for a long time. It's not like she's freaking 29 years old like all of us, right? She's like a good 60 something years old there. And you would just think that as a judge with experience that she knew, at least to my visual, that she was doing the right things. Lawyers no different, that this isn't normal. We heard that multiple times by the defense lawyers and stuff like that this wasn't a normal course and type of thing, and everyone seemed to be pretty much shocked by it all. And obviously, right, it's not like there's a ton of cases, but anyways, so yeah, so again, come to learn that, yeah, she was in the wrong. Lawyers got put back on, and sadly, well, it's just really sadly, it's to where it is right now again, which is just a big muddled mess. Well, it is. I get that. I get that there's proceedings, and I get it's like, tag, you're it. No, tag. Oh, I'm coming at you with this motion. Woohoo! Tag, you're it. That's just kind of what it feels like. It feels like just tennis back and forth, really. But a little bit more like a squash match or something. But that's kind of what it feels like right now. Like, oh, boing, back at you. Oh, no, back at you. That type of thing. I think they were making a statement. They were making a statement, or a tactic or whatever. It was whatever word we used. I don't think one person committed this. I do not. Okay, so someone, I think it was Unsolved Crimes, because she's one that I sent you guys the video for. Charmaine.
Yeah.
One person.
Oh, sorry.
One more. Oh no, it's okay, because I never finished my sentence. It's just what Steph has said. Okay, you guys, where are we at with this in chat? Okay, one, if it's one person, just put one, and put two if you think it's obviously two or more. What do you think, Charmaine? Charmaine, where are you at still with this one?
I think that he acted alone. I think that a 5'6" little shitty man quickly becomes 6 foot something to 13-year-old girls when he's got a gun. And I think that the staging and the redressing could easily be done by one person. I don't pretend to even want to guess at a motive. A lot of people think that he wanted to kidnap them, but that to me doesn't make sense, because not only did he stupidly walk down 300 North muddy and bloody, or just muddy whatever, in broad daylight, he would have had to been planning on marching the girls to his car as well. So I don't think, but I think that it's totally possible that he acted alone, and it is so unfortunate that Nick McClelland said that he needed to keep that PCA sealed because he thinks there are other
more
actors.
Actors.
So unfortunate, but
it's a very common word that they use. I've noticed. I didn't notice it before up until I've heard other cases, and I really hate the word actors. How about suspect? How about person of interest? I hate the word actors. It just,
but actors, I think, isn't suspect. I think actors could be, for example, actors could be
players in the game that aren't.
Keg and Klein hooked him up with some pedo account for a burner phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actors.
So, my thing is I believe one person could have done it. Now, was it in Nancy Grace's one where she was like, yeah, it was her, because she was like, so let me put it this way. Kathy Allen will know, of course, whether like if her husband frequented the Freedom Bridge frequently. Like, I mean, obviously there's pictures of them hiking and stuff like that. So if it was a normal thing for him to go down there and, just go to the bridge, go have a nice little walkie, type of thing. Because she said something like, like something about his wife, like, like your wife would know, da 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 da. I can't remember exactly what she said, but anyways, and all I'm thinking is this: I'm sure, like he said, he frequented the bridge, So if anything, to be honest with you, like I said, my brain is mush when it comes to this. So I can agree that he perhaps went to the bridge multiple times. And even at the age of 44, that whatever sick, twisted thing going on in his head's going on, that, he knew that it's going to be a school day, that Abby and Libby could have been simply random victims, and that was his crime of opportunity. Not that he had committed any of these crimes before, but some people, like I said, maybe come out later in life and they have whatever issues going on, and maybe a hatred towards females, really, whatever, kids, who knows. So I could see him stalking, like, or going there and then planning out in his head exactly what he was going to do someday, and knowing that it was a school day. So I can see that. I can see it being not a lure as well, whereas with the whole thing came out, it was a lure. But what I can't really get over, or what I find hard to understand, is, okay, you got a gun, absolutely, right? Most people are going to be scared, and you're going to go down the hill and you're going to do as you're told. And as much as Abby and Libby might be looking at each other going like, what the fuck do we do? What the fuck do we do? Like, da, 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 da. And then to go across the water. But what gets me is, like in Greeno's video, he's trying to climb up that bank. That's like no easy feat there to go up the bank. That water was not that, it was pretty, it was pretty decently high. Like it, you know what I mean? But that bank. And so when you watch kind of like Greeno doing that, I'm trying to understand in my head how, and this is where it gets wrapped around, because I'm trying to understand in my head how one person with the gun is like, what, gun at their back going like, climb, 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 without one of them like are starting to take off. Like,
I think that it's possible that that's exactly what happened, and why Abby or Libby's shoe was found on the one side. And there were those footprints in that one bank. We saw pictures of. I have my own idea in my head that maybe one of them was hit at some point, and probably the later of the two.
The shoes were on the north side. Like the shoe. Yeah, one's underneath of her.
Yeah.
One's underneath of Abby is what they said.
And one's on the other side of the creek.
No, it's not on the other side. It's on the north side. It's on the south side. It's on the north side.
See, and I thought Kelsey said that they were on the private drive when somebody called up from down that second hill and said what kind of shoe were the girls wearing.
Now I can't remember if it was Becky, or I can't remember if it was Dave Erskine, but I'm wanting to say Becky on this one because it was already said that it was on the north side. And that I remember saying that in the live because we were all trying to figure out like where it was. And they were both on the north side. The picture is on the north side. Kind of like what they said in the PCA, that the clothes were like 75 or whatever it was away. Mm-hmm. And then I remember that
75 feet.
What?
75 feet.
Yes, 75 feet. However distance that was. But anyways, it ended up being that, right, it was on the north side, not the south side. And I remember saying that in the live because that was a bit of information that I was like, okay, finally, now we actually know that it was on the north side, that the clothes were actually on the north side, just wherever the crime scene was, somewhere in that vicinity there is where the clothes were. Because that one, like, maybe it's just because you don't remember on that live, and I'm not sure if you were even on that live. I think you were, because was it with you when we were sitting there trying to figure out on the live?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was you, right? Okay. And then I came back because then I got that information to confirm it was on the north side. And I just maybe just because you forget, but that's why but I remember because I was like, finally, at least now I know it's on like the north side because I was too going like, well, where is it? Like, where
I
was?
thought we figured out that the clothes were on the north side, 75 feet, which would be 25 feet from where the girls were. So it would have had to have been probably.
I mean, the shoe and the clothes were together, which again, I was told it was the north side. It was the same
Yeah.
side that the clothes were on.
See what Stella said? That's what's in my head, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I just remember, like, I mean, I literally got it from the horse's mouth on this one, and that's why I remember it. And I know, and I believe Frank will absolutely confirm that too. And like I said, I can't remember what live it exactly was on, but we were going over it, and I just know that I got it confirmed. It was on the north side. And
No, I remember the live. I do.
yeah, okay. But anyways, so I don't know what was our point about that anyway. Oh yeah, you said you had your things because we were talking about getting the girls up, you know. So I'm just thinking that they were just simply scared shitless,
Yeah.
you know. And when like when there's literally a gun and you're a freaking child and you have someone and you're of that age where you know exactly what the frickin' gun's gonna do, you know. And I just think that they were scared shitless, and neither one wanted to take off on the other one, you know. But because for one person to row that, I just think that they were scared,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, and and sadly, it just, you know. So I can easily see one person doing it, you know. I used to always think a few people. I just can't see that Richard Allen would incorporate somebody else into the mix of this. I think, if anything, I think that he had gone to the bridge, you know, knew that it was going to be a school day. I'm actually starting to think it was more random, like meaning he pre-planned to be there that day. But I'm starting to think that actually Adam, Abby, and Libby were actually random. It was the crime of opportunity for him to do something, and he took it. And you know, he kind of like killed two birds with one stone in a sense. I don't think that. So that would have to go with the random part. But knowing that he had premeditated to specifically go there that day because he had stalked or gone to that bridge area enough, you know, to know the lay of the land and all that different shit and whatever. And yeah, like that's how I feel it is at this point.
The single person is, to me, the best evidence of that is that the more people that know something, the harder it is to keep a secret.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody would have said something if Richard Allen had accomplices, or if he wasn't the one who actually killed them, by now he would have said something. I'm like Anna said earlier, I've got a great heart and I don't understand certain things. And that's another thing that I don't understand. How if you're going to be charged with felony murder, which equates to like a kidnapping, you could make a deal and say, I will give you the murderer if you give me a deal. And I think that they would have taken that deal to find out who the actual murderer was. So you can't keep a secret with a lot of people involved, something like that. When somebody's life is on the line, they're not going to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, Steffa, that's where the whole 3 shoe thing came from, right? I mean, that's because Kelsey did say something like that in our interview.
Yes, she did. She absolutely did, because that stuck in my mind for years, that she was on the private drive and somebody called down from the creek just below her, what kind of shoes were the girls wearing?
Yeah, but the thing is that maybe that was just a misinterpretation of how she said it versus what, because if he was down there, but again, who knows? Because again, it makes it, that's why people kept going. So there's 3 shoes, right? And it's kind of like, well, no, obviously Libby only has 2 shoes, but they're saying that one's underneath of her. And, then that's why we were thinking that the clothes and everything was on the south side. And that's why we were doing it that day. But then I was told, so unless the family member has their information, whatever, it was said it was on the north side.
I mean, maybe they don't have a clear recollection because we all thought that Libby was wearing gray sweatpants that day. So
Well,
I mean,
Becky
we're not
thought
going to
that-
know until trial.
Yeah, exactly. Because even Becky said, right, about the pants, which we talked about, right? For all that time, she thought Libby was wearing gray sweatpants when come to find out she was wearing jeans. You know, like I said, Kelsey would know that, but again, it's some of these details when people are like, and I know Becky's that type of person like myself. I bet you any money, just like you would be with your child, that your heart is in such a panic and pumping so hard because Becky knew right away that there's probably something wrong because she's a worrywart grandma, right? So her memory, because she'd be in such a panic state like I would, it would almost be like hearing wah, 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 because you're so focused on the fact of where's the girls, where's Libby, where's Libby, and Becky's that type of person, that she is just, like I said, where when we're got it more of extreme anxiety, because you're just literally, his heart is, you're not thinking maybe necessarily rationally, because you just want to get to where your child is, and people are talking to you and you're like, get the fuck out of my way. Where's my kid? Where's my child? Like in her case, where's my granddaughter? Because she's a Cancer too, by the way. Did I say that? Okay, but anyways.
And they're probably not thinking that they were taken or that they're, what happened to them happened. She's probably, like, in my mind, it's like, what does it matter what she was wearing? They're going to be the only 2 lost or hurt little girls out here. So let's just go look for them.
Yeah. The clip is still out there. I mean, I've heard her say that. I heard her say about the shoe, and whoever was down at the bottom called up and said the shoe, whether that person, because the water, isn't like deep. So whether it was, like, it's not exactly like it's a big far distance to the other side. So maybe it was recollected wrong. Maybe it was on the north side and the person called up about the shoe and that's what she remembers and how she remembers it. Who knows? I don't know. All I know is one day we're going to find out about the accuracy, but it's stuff like that does play on your head, because you're like, wait, if Kelsey said this, and this family member said this, and yet there's a shoe underneath. But in those, so let me say this. In those few crime scene photos that were leaked, I didn't see no shoe or underneath somebody's back. But multiple pictures would have been taken. So then in my head, I think, well, at what point were these pictures taken? Because I didn't see no shoe, because they claimed, like, remember, that's kind of another mystery there, because one person said Libby and the next thing you know, and the memoranda or the Franks thing that it was under, no, they said Libby, right? Who is it that said Abby? Was it, I think it was the Frank's motion. Either way, there was the 2 stories. One said Libby, one said Abby. And it was like, well, why would Libby's shoe be underneath Abby? But okay, and like, remember, because it was said about the shoe and the phone. That must have come from the Frank's motion, that particular one. It did. And then the other one would have come from, like, whatever it was, the affidavit or something like that. Anyways, it's just stuff like that, even sometimes the simplest details that you would think you would, just throws you off, because you're going, well, how did there get to be 3 shoes? How did there, get to be, like, what side, north side, south side, just all those little things. And then after a while, your head just goes poof, and you're just, it's like every information just goes out the window because you're trying to make sense of it. Like all I think like most of us, right? We're just trying to make sense of, especially the part of like why. That's the biggest thing. Like why would Richard Allen do this? And so the only explanation that I could logically come up with what would be because he obviously had shit going on here, that he went to the bridge, and at some point he, you know, committed this crime that, because he was off balance up here in his thinking. Something was twisting up there. I don't know, type of thing. Like I said, I don't know what his hatred is, if he has any hatred towards females, not, or stuff like that. But that's the only thing I can make sense of why it would be like a single person if he was the one doing it. That at 45 years old, I believe it would be his first actual, murders. That it was just something that, yeah, he might have had a clean record, but that didn't mean he didn't have shit going on up here. And yet he, how people live double lives, people, right? They portray like, hey, how you doing? Good guy, nice guy at the CVS store. No problem. I'll make these pictures for free for the girls for the funerals. Nobody recognized the guy in all those years. It was the CVS man. That's still strange
Because
to me.
he looked nothing like any of the sketches.
Sure did not.
The sketches. And
I know
people
that.
focused on the sketches.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Why didn't they ever come out? If they, like, that just still blows me away that they go from this 45-year-old man to 55 type of area to a freaking 20 to 30-year-old looking kid picture. Why didn't they morph together the two pictures for us then?
Yeah.
Because no, but so how do you get such two different drawings and then go, well, if you put them together, we believe that this, like, how do you go with a freaking detailed head hat thing to this baby face thing, and then and they're changed directions, in a sense. And Doug Carter,
All of that was just smoke. Doug Carter is a hell of a spin doctor. And I think that he is a very
definitely
kind man with a big heart, and he's probably really good at what he does. But he was the public face, and his analogies and the way that he would word things was very enticing for the public and calming in a way. And I think that it was all smoke when he says, once we find the guy and we combine the sketches, we'll see it. I don't even think he believed a bit of that was true. I think maybe he was hoping.
Yeah.
But
I just think that that's pretty far stretched to take this younger looking thing,
absolutely,
and this older looking thing, and go, let's just crisscross them, guys, because perhaps this person kind of looks like somebody in the middle. That's like putting 1 to 20 and going, it could look like number 2, a little bit like number 3. We could get to the middle at 10 and go, yeah, kind of looks like that's, to me, that's just a bunch of word salad shit coming out of his mouth. I don't believe for 1 second, like, he's selling shit is what he's doing, and he double talks a lot. And I catch him doing that all the time, double talking. And I get it, but to me, I get pissed off about certain things. And to me, that was a clear thing. You don't put up with the 20 to 30-year-old person and then the 45 to 55-year-old guy, really detailed, this little pouty baby face kind of, like type of look, and then go, I just knew it. We put them together. They were the same people. I've said it all along. I don't know. Goes me. I just like.
I totally agree with you about that creator. It's too bad that he's it's too bad that he is the way that he is, because he does put a lot of work into his maps.
Oh, you're talking about Gray Hughes?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear.
He's just not good to his.
Oh, I seen that one.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like I said, I got a ton of emails to prove it. That he's not a very nice person, and so he might think he is, and he can float his own boat all he wants. Type of idea. his channel sat there at like 60K forever and a day, that 50 whatever mark, and then finally some case obviously brought him over. But anyways, I mean, he's just somebody to me that's just full of himself. Hey, and if you want to be full of yourself and you want to talk to people that way, or you want to send me an email telling me to take down a video, and I best do it because this other one, like, get out of my face, dude, get out of my face. I just totally ignored that email, but I still keep that original email because he was such a douchebag, for no reason. And it's just arrogant, narcissistic, arrogant. And I just don't get it because he's like nothing to look at, and he has this just arrogant attitude about Delphi. And no, he just has an arrogant attitude in general. And, if he wants to treat people like crap and whatever, like I said, whatever. I mean, whatever. I just don't care about him at all. And he does nothing for me. And yeah, he's good at doing Google Maps. And yeah, there's lots of people that are not the greatest people that do good work on certain things. Absolutely. But I'm not going to sit here and preach that I'm holier than thou and stuff like that, either, because we all have our imperfectness and stuff like that going on. But for me personally, I just choose to not care about him. I don't care. I don't go watch his stuff. So when he said that's what I mean. Okay. I don't watch the dude. I literally said that in this so-called video of mine. I do not watch him. And then it's like, I'm not going to let you get away with saying that. I blocked you from my channel. From what? I don't go to your channel.
Yeah.
But you just have to put that in there that you've blocked me, type of thing. When you clearly would have heard me say that I don't watch you, So good on you. Stroke the ego, whatever, type of thing. And it's just like, take your narcissistic ass and, just whatever, go do your thing. I don't care. Anyways, I don't watch him for the reason I just don't like the way he talks with people, and I think he's just arrogant. But hey, if ever something ever really good, like maybe I don't even, I've seen him like an hour of my entire life, perhaps, maybe 2 tops. So if he does make good maps, I know he plays with Google. I know he does maps. I know he's good at his maps, and he'll be the first one to tell you that. Just like he'll be the first one to tell you that all the donation money that people send him, that he donates this much of it, oh, good on you. But those people, when he says like donate to the ballpark, well, if you're donating to the ballpark, you're giving him 90% and he's giving them a 10% cut, But I mean, whatever, right? I mean, it's his thing if people do it, and he tells them to, just shut up and donate $5, and people do it. Hey, if they like being talked to like that, and whatever, go for it. Anyways, that's enough about Gray Hughes. Like I said, I don't hate the dude. It's just I don't like him either. It just does nothing for me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, hey,
each to their own.
I always, for me, that's it. Bottom line. Again, it doesn't matter what I say. Doesn't matter what anyone says. Each to their own. Whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. Again, we all are responsible for our actions, what we say, and what we do, type of thing. And so people love, being talked to like crap, then so be it. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Don't care. It's not impacting my life, So whatever. The biggest ones that I like to do call out though is the total scammers like Joseph Morris, like the ones that literally are playing a con game,
that's a problem.
Yeah, like stuff like that, because that's just sickening that people will literally sell their soul to the devil just to fake something like Joseph Morris did there and stuff like that. Those ones I don't mind calling out, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally, Joseph Morris, I never, and he's from Canada, remember? But I never seen someone disappear so fast. Like, seriously, I never seen someone that disappeared so fast. He tried to justify himself, looked like an idiot. No one bought it, I remember when he went off on tying the murder of the Newlywed couple's murders to Gabby Petito. So, absolutely wrong. And so, oh, yes, yeah, I no idea whatsoever. That's why I love this channel. You can say what you feel like in our thinking. Yeah, that's fine.
Respectfully.
Yeah, exactly. then that's just, well, whatever. What was it? I liked it though when Ictamel, he was talking about Jared, so you guys know from AWP, and that's just it. So this is the same thing, right? AWP maybe lost a few 100,000 of viewers, So here's a guy charged with, 2 counts of RAPE. That doesn't stop over 2 million people still following them, right? They don't care. Like, hey, go do whatever you want to. Like, I mean, he's being charged with it, but it meaning people do what they want, and who, like, even though you think it's so wrong, if somebody does something to a child and you would literally admit to it, like he did, I just don't think he thought it could ever come back to him. But then, all those people are like, I don't care what you did to the 2 kids. I just enjoy watching you dive into the water, right? Again, disgusting to some people, to me, but they're still followers of his anyway. And that's the bottom line is, and I see this all the time, right? Doesn't matter. Like, you can't fix the world and you can't fix stupid, to what your own thoughts are, but each to their own. I think it's pathetic, somebody knowingly, like, I unsubscribed to him right away, just because he admitted to it. Like, he literally had mail or sent her a message, that letter, admitting to it.
Mhm.
Type of thing. So, but again, each to their own morals and guidelines, right?
That's right.
I'm not here to be that judge. Sunny, is it okay for Canadian? You're okay for? Are you sure? Oh, wait. Okay, Charmaine, you wanted to read something. My bad. You wanted to read something about the confession.
Well, not specifically about the confession. So most people, I don't even know if I've said it before, but I am a graduate of criminal justice and criminology. It was a very long time ago, 22 years ago, because I found my certificate here. I was just going through stuff and I found some of my old textbooks, and I'm a nerd and a loser. And I think that the reading is very interesting. So I've been rereading a lot of that stuff lately. This morning, just by chance, I came across something in my interviews and interrogations course textbook. And I just thought it was interesting and thought I would like to read it to everybody just to kind of give some. Yes, this is a Canadian college text. This is not American. I understand that. But I think that the premise is going to apply in both countries because it is what it is. So, and it's not a very long story, Stepha. Hold your breath. It won't take long. But if we look back and think back to the language about the confession, Richard Allen's confession, and I say this with quotes because I'm not heavy prosecution, I'm not heavy defense. I've already cleared that up many times. But in court, one side said Richard Allen made admissions, and the other side said, yes, he made self-incriminating statements. Okay, so by chance this morning, I was doing some light reading, my college textbooks from way back when I was smart, and I found this little portion that says admissions versus confessions. Although seemingly alike, there is a notable difference between the admission of a criminal act and the confession of one's complicity in a crime. An admission is a self-incriminating statement made by the suspect that falls short of acknowledgement of guilt. It is, however, an acknowledgement of a certain fact or circumstance from which his or her guilt can be inferred. Conversely, a confession is direct acknowledgement by the suspect of his or her guilt in the commission of a specific crime or as being an integral part of the specific crime. For the confession to be lawful, an investigator must be mindful of the constitutional checks governing its admissibility. So, can we say, reading this, reasonably say that Richard Allen has confessed, or has he made incriminating statements, or has he made admissions? According to this, They're three completely different things. We can infer what we want from any of them, but without hearing what was said,
Right.
to me, the language that was used by the prosecution saying self-incriminate or admissions, right?
Yeah.
And then the defense saying self-incriminating, neither one have said confessed. Have they? Have
Right.
they? I'm not talking about the population and the sleuthers and all of us.
Right.
Did they say that? Did the judge acknowledge a confession? Has anybody said that in court? I don't think so. It's admissions and self-incriminating. Do you know what I mean? It got my brain thinking back to what was actually said in that hearing. And I,
It's
that's it.
No, I'm only gonna tease because I know if Danielle K is watching this, I think she's changed her mind.
Whatever. I don't even care. Okay, I know my stuff about Canadian law, and I can talk all I want about it. And everything that I say on your show is speculation unless it's on Canadian crime, because we don't get to talk about Canadian crime here until it's all said and done in court. So then it's fact, what I'm saying. So if you don't like it, don't listen. And then just so everybody knows, there is a book out there, and it's a fantastic book, and I don't even know who wrote it. Grant Ainsley. It's called The Omni Spin Doctor, Navigating the Media Maze. So this book, if anybody ever wants to read a good book, it's pretty short, but it's kind of what I do for a living. It's about how to represent a company or something in the media. If you have to make a statement to the media or something, if, I don't know, if there's like a serious incident or something, or an oil leak or a spill or something like that, and the media approaches you as the spokesperson, how you're supposed to handle that interview. And a lot of it, you can relate a lot of what's in this book to how law enforcement speaks to the media. So it's just very interesting stuff to me. I know I'm a loser. And then there's also this one is fantastic.
Oh, get that away from me. Look how thick that is.
It is the Canadian Criminal Code of 2003. That's when I started college, 2003. It wasn't yesterday. But yeah, so I just wanted to read that about the, the statements and stuff. So it's pretty.
So you're almost a lawyer.
I could have been. I could have continued for 2 years and did that, but it was a long time ago, and I made certain decisions based on life. I also was, some of the stuff that you don't know, Sunny, but I have been in a trial before. I have been a witness in a trial before. I have been direct examined and cross-examined. I have been caught on the stand, so to speak.
I've been what on the stand?
Caught, like trapped by the other side, who's trying to get me to say something.
Yeah.
Like I fell for it.
Right. I gotcha.
With that, I've been.
Did you lie?
Not direct. No, absolutely not. I didn't lie, but I didn't remember something. Something. So I ended up saying something snarky because that's who I am, and I've always been that way. And I should never have said that because the entire courtroom went silent, and it was like, did she really just say that? It is what it is. But yeah. And I've been involved on the outside of a murder investigation.
Hostile witness?
I wasn't a hostile witness. I couldn't remember something, and they were badgering me, and I just thought, what the fuck does this have to do with anything? So I said something I shouldn't have said, and they took a recess right after it. So like I said, this entire live stream was like 4 hours long, but I think that's all. After this part, we kind of go off on other topics. The link to the live stream will be in the show notes, so feel free to go and watch the replay. And if you want to join us live and interact with us in real time, I will post links to any upcoming live streams to our Facebook page. Reach out to me on Messenger if you have any case suggestions. And also if you'd like to be a co-host on one of the podcasts. Again, Bree is not available for podcasting right now. She will be in the future, but for now it's just going to be me. So I am looking for co-hosts. It's not something that I want permanently because Brie will be back, but I would love to have somebody come on and join me for just I'll tell you a story and you can give me your feedback as we go along, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So anyways, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. If you don't mind giving us a 5-star rating, it will help our show grow. You can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at True Crime Story Podcast, where the discussion can continue. If you wish to contact us, you may do so via email at truecrimestorypod@gmail.com. Remember to send in your podcast episodes, case suggestions, or requests. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the show. I'm Bree.
And I'm sure.
And we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye!